Hi there guys, so we are Me, My Suit and Tie. My name's Ben. Today we're going to do interview techniques, 6 in particular that should help you nail your dream job. Right, so the first tip, top tip for this is to bring a notepad. This might sound a little bit silly and a lot of people forget this, but the truth is you wouldn't necessarily go to a client meeting without having something to write on. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, I think something really important to do is when you sit down for your interview, make sure you open the pad up. In the top left-hand corner of your notepad, have the actual company name as well as the person who's actually interviewing you. Again, this isn't necessarily stand out as something that is important, but it shows the interviewer that you've actually gone away and thought about what you're actually doing. You haven't just turned up willy-nilly and hoping for the best. Right, so tip number 2 is showing passion for your sector. I think this is something that's really, really important to anyone interviewing you. They want to make sure that you're really interested in what you do. So a good example of this, I think, is, let's say you were going for a job in marketing. Do a bit of research around campaigns that you really like and give examples as to why you like them. This not only shows them that you're knowledgeable about your sector, but also shows that you're genuinely passionate about what you do. So tip number 3, bring examples of relevant work. This is really, really crucial. So when you turn up to an interview, it's always important that you actually show them work you've done which is going to be relevant to them. This really backs up why you're right for the job. Let's say you were going for an interview up in London for a digital creative agency and you noticed that they'd actually worked with a client you've worked with before. Bring examples of the work you've actually done for that particular client. This will give them a really good example that you're able to work with a similar calibre of clients they're actually dealing with at the minute. So then tip number 4, I think this is possibly the most important tip I'm going to give you today, and it's one that I think we've all been in situations where we've been caught off guard by this question. So at the end of an interview, you're likely to be asked, have you got any questions? And at this point you do one or two things. You either sit there and think, oh God, we've actually covered everything in this interview already, I've got nothing else to add, in which case you're sort of left there thinking, God, I should have answered that better. Or you're going to ask a ridiculous question that isn't really that relevant. So what I would recommend you do is actually prepare at least 10 questions. The reason I say 10 is because I know that sounds vast, but the reality is you're probably going to have covered 5 of those questions in the conversation anyway. So at least if you've got 10, you can refer to those last 5 that haven't actually been mentioned. This for me has been an absolute lifesaver, because the last thing you want to do is sit there awkwardly at the end and have absolutely no questions to ask them. Right, so tip number 5, this is called what I call the killer question. This will give you a really, really, really good understanding of how you've performed in the actual interview. So at the very end, they're going to ask you, have you got any questions for me? And this question always works a treat. So you want to ask them, is there any challenges you can see me facing in this role? At this point, they're going to tell you exactly how they're feeling. It's going to give you a really good understanding of whether there's something there which isn't quite right. The last thing you want to do is to walk out of an interview and you've done everything really, really well, but there's one niggling thing in the back of their minds that could have been resolved. And by asking this question, they're going to bring up any niggling things or little problems, little concerns they actually have, and you can actually address them and back up your story, back up your answer. Right, tip number 6 is on impression. So it's really, really important you dress nice and smart. They say that it takes 7 seconds for someone to make their first impression of you. So it's really, really important you nail this. You don't have to go too flashy. I think the most common suits to wear when you're going for an interview are either a dark grey or a navy blue with a simple white shirt and a nice pair of shiny shoes. That's all you need. Obviously you can dress it up, and this is where we come in. Me, My Suit and Tie do star boxes. These are perfect for these sort of events. Today I'm wearing the Sparrow, as you can see, nice dark grey tie, pocket square, tie bar, and that's all you really need. But it will give you that edge and make you remembered, which is probably the most important thing here.